So let's look at my Excel spreadsheet calculations. Remember, we had two firms, Robot Formers and Cindy. These were input values from the question. These were given to you, market value of assets, face value of pure discount debt maturity in years, and asset return standard deviation. Remember, we also calculated the risk-free rate, continuously compounded. So now we can actually calculate the market value of equity for both companies by using Black-Scholes. So here actually my S, the stock price or the underlying asset to value the call option, will be the market value of assets for each firm respectively. And E, exercise price, will be the face value of pure discount debt for each firm. And variance, remember, we had the standard deviation values. In order to calculate the variance, you need to take the square of these standard deviation values so that you will end up having these variance values for both firms. And then, of course, you need to calculate D1 and D2 values. Remember, these are these equations, so you know everything in here. Just plug in the numbers and calculate D1 and D2 values. And from there, you need to calculate ND1 and ND2 values, the normal standard distribution. Just use the norm as this function of Excel, and your Z value will be your D1 and D2 values, and just select true for both ND1 and D2, and you will get these probability values. So now you have also calculated ND1 and D2, and then the value of the call will be the market value of equity for both companies. So then enter these values, plug in the numbers for S, again your the value here, you have already calculated ND1, ND2, you know R, you know T, E will be the Euler's number, and E will be the exercise price here. You need to have, you need to end up with these two market value of equity values for both companies, and market value of debt, just subtract this value from the market value of assets, then you will get the market value of debt for both companies. So pre-merger market value of equity total, you can sum this and this for both Robot Formers and Cindy, and you will have this value. And of course, market value of debt will be this value plus this value. And you can also check the summation of these two values should be equal to $73.5 million, which was the previous combined value of the market value of assets for both companies. So we have calculated the values for the pre-merger case. So after the merger, the combined firm's assets will be the sum of the pre-merger values, 55 million plus 18.5 million, $73.5 million, because no value was created or destroyed. It was a purely financial merger. Similarly, the total face value of the debt is now $30.5 million. However, we will assume that the combined firm's asset return standard deviation is 48%. Remember, this was given in the question prompt. This is lower than for either of the two individual firms because of the diversification effect. So what is the impact of this merger? To find out, we compute the post-merger value of the equity. And based on our discussion, here is the relevant information and the calculation accordingly. As we did before in the pre-merger case, actually, still we will be using Black-Scholes to calculate the post-merger market value of equity. Remember, these are the combined values, just added the market value of assets for both firm, Robot Formers and Cindy. And also again, I summed the face value of per discount debt for each company, and having this value, that maturity in years will be 5. This was given because of the reduction in the risk. Asset return standard deviation will be lower for the combined firm, and risk-free rate continues to compounded will be the same. So now here your stock price S, or the underlying asset value, will be 73.5 million. Your exercise price will be the same as we did before, face value of pure discount debt, and variance will be, of course, this is the standard deviation. You need to take the square of this value to end up having this variance value, the variance of the returns on the combined firm's assets. And then you can calculate V1 and V2 as we did before. Every term in here, just plug in the numbers and calculate V1 and V2. And from there, of course, you can calculate NV1 and NV2 values by using normal standard distribution function in Excel, as we did in the previous case of pre-merger calculations. Just enter these V1 and V2 as Z values and select true or cumulative. You will have these two values as we did before. So now you have calculated post-merger market value of equity by using Black-Scholes pricing. Remember, NV1 and NV2 here, exercise price, stock price, everything. So by using Black-Scholes, you need to have this same exact value that I calculated in here for the post-merger market value of equity. And post-merger market value of debt, again, will be, you will subtract this value from the market value of assets, and you will get the post-merger market value of debt. And then you can calculate the stockholders' loss post-merger and bondholders' gain post-merger. How do we do this? Remember, pre-merger actually, the pre-merger market value of equity total was around $55 million or so. But post-merger, you have 52. So at around $2.9 million were lost post-merger. And again, remember, pre-merger actually, the market value of pre-merger market value of total debt was 8.4 million, and post-merger actually this is at around 21.3 million. So this is bondholders gain and this is stockholders loss. And of course, these should be the same numbers because this is a zero-sum game, as we will see in the next slide, in a purely financial merger. So the merger seems to be a bad idea for the stockholders. Pre-merger, the stock in each firm totaled at around $55 million, while post-merger, the market value of equity will be $52,193,321.49. So I'm talking about these two values in here. So the merger raised $2,888,726.43 in equity, and this loss will be bondholders' gain. Their bonds were worth 18,417,352.08 before the merger, and 21,306,678.51 after, a gain of the same value, $2,888,726.43. So I'm talking about this. This is the pre-merger market value of debt. This is pre-merger, and this is post-merger. These are the values here. So this merger neither created nor destroyed value, but caused the value to change hands from stockholders to the bondholders in this particular case. So this example demonstrates that pure financial mergers are financially illogical for stockholders. While diversification reduces the volatility of the firm's return on assets through the combined firm, this reduction in risk benefits the bondholders, as default will be less likely. This is called the co-insurance effect. By merging, the firms insure each other's bonds, and as bonds become less risky, they will rise in value. If bonds increase in value and there is no net increase in asset values, then the equity must decrease in value. In summary, pure financial mergers are good for creditors, but not for stockholders. As the equity is a call option, a reduction in return variance on underlying asset, which happens post-merger through the effect of diversification, causes the value of the call equity in our case here to decrease. We recall from previous discussions in this chapter that the higher the volatility of the underlying asset is, the more valuable the call option is. The same principle applies to this case too. So the reduction in equity value in a case of a purely financial merger makes default and bankruptcy less likely to happen, a boon for bondholders but pain for stockholders. So the right or the option to go bankrupt is a valuable stockholder option, and a purely financial merger diminishes the value of that option.